Hello Pisces, welcome to your weekly tarot reading here on Dove and Serpent Tarot. This is for the week of February 12 through 18. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. Now, this is going to be a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each card and use your own intuition to go beyond what I'm providing, okay? Remember that the most important part of any tarot reading is you. And here's a Three of Wands. That is really wonderful energy. I feel like you're the type of person that really has an understanding of who they are. You know what I mean? Let's put that into some context, though. We see some other stuff going on here that we've got to look at. We're going to use our Dove and Serpent spread. And we're going to do a mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. Let's use the Ancient Italian Tarot for that today. This is pre-shuffled, but I want to select one card kind of randomly from the middle there. We're not going to look at that until the very end, so stick around. And we're going to see how that might, tie the reading together, give us the confirmation that we need at the end. You know how it works here. So, looking around, we see some court cards. Wow, a lot of major arcana, too. Wow. Major arcana over here on the path of the serpent, on the path of the dove. We've got a lot of court cards, some fire and water. Okay? Fire and water. Some kind of, there's some kind of conflict stuff going on. There's something that is kind of bringing you a little bit of a challenge. We started out with this Three of Wands. And this to me really is your understanding of who you are. You know yourself, right? You know your history, you know your past, you know what you've been through. You know who you are now, you know what you will and will not tolerate. You know what your skills are. You kind of know what your weaknesses are too. You know what I mean? So you have there's a real balance in you. There's a real sense of pride, a real sense of power and confidence. But I think it's also, it's not arrogance, right? You're not a cocky person. You know that, you're not a perfect being, right? So you've got this really strong, assertive, confident nature, but it's like a humbleness too. It's like a reserve. Like you have all of this fire, and you're kind of reserving it for when it's really useful. You know where to apply yourselves. It's almost like you know how to pick your battles, right? You know what is worth fighting for one thing, right? You know what is worth fighting for and what might be not worth it, or what might even it might be beyond your ability to control it, right? So it would be kind of a futile effort to engage in certain battles, right? So it's this really deep understanding of yourself. I think you've done a lot of spiritual work. I think you've done a lot of introspection. You've done just a lot of self-work, right? And I think that you probably have maybe not as strong what would be a typical spiritual practice. You might not be lighting incense and meditating and reading your tarot cards or something, but I feel like you have a really strong spiritual connection through other things, like some kind of activities. It almost feels to me like you're really really good at getting a sports vibe. I'm getting a baseball kind of thing, but I don't think it's that literal. I think you have this really outgoing and strong energy. I see a lot of activity, right? So you could be like a runner. You could be someone that does play sports. You could be someone that really feels that spiritual connection, feels yourself when you're doing this strenuous physical activity, right? Hitting the gym, right? Weights, running, sprinting, playing some kind of a sport. Maybe it's martial arts even. I'm kind of getting a martial arts vibe here. And I think it's all part of who you are. And I think that's where you really feel connected to spirit, to yourself, to the higher power, God, goddess, deity, whatever you want to call it. That's where you really feel like you're in that spiritual zone. When you're doing that kind of intense activity. Could be some kind of interval training or something like that. I don't feel like it's such a relatively mellow game like golf or something, but it's something with a lot of like bursts of energy. I feel that in some way. So maybe like the weightlifting kind of thing. Something that has really strong but quick bursts of energy. That's what I feel really gets you going, really lights you up. Really makes you feel connected and kind of brings you into yourself, but brings you into an awareness of your spirit and stuff too. Does that make sense? I don't want to stay too long on that, but a pretty intense kind of vibe that I'm getting there. We're going to go to the recent past before we do anything else. And I see this kind of fire sign person, Princess of Wands here. I think in your past, maybe when you were a child, I think that you had an intense interest in something like maybe a sport or a martial art. But I almost feel like your parents or something like didn't allow you to do that, or like wouldn't let you, or there was something going on at home where you had to stop pursuing some kind of interest like that. And I feel like it's the physical thing, and maybe that kind of physical thing that you enjoy so much now, or that you're starting to get back into now. Okay? I feel like when you were younger, I feel like your parents wouldn't let you do it for some reason. Maybe they were worried, that maybe they were overprotective. It's kind of just, I feel a lot of anxiety around some kind of activity when you were young. Something that you wanted to do, like a sport, like a martial art, something. And you weren't really allowed to do it because of the risk, or because they were overprotective, something like that. But I feel like that still bothers you. I feel like it's still something that you think about from time to time. Maybe it's such an unconscious thing really now. That's why with this Three of Wands, maybe that's why we're starting to get back into these activities. Maybe that's why you feel this kind of fulfillment or spiritual expression or connection when you're doing these activities now. It's in some way you're making up for not being able to do this when you were younger. Because I almost feel like you're just now kind of getting back into these things. I feel like you're learning that about yourself more and more, that this is really where you shine. This is where you really feel like you're in your spot, when you're doing these kinds of activities. And then this week we've got this Five of Wands. So this is kind of a continuation of that three. It's kind of the same thought that we're doing. This may be the beginning of this, some kind of new sport, a new martial art, a new activity, something physical and vigorous that you're going to be engaged in, right? Maybe this is you're beginning some classes, you're beginning that sport or that activity, or you're starting that weightlifting routine or something. Something is kind of beginning that is taking some of this more abstract or theoretical energy, the idea of it, and putting it into motion, right? Really expressing that now through your physical body, right? And I'm curious what it is that you're doing. If it's martial arts, if it's a sport, if it's gym, maybe it's all of it, right? Maybe you're starting a new job that is very, very like physically demanding, something like that. I feel like it's kind of beginning. I feel like you've had this interest for a long time. Like I said, it feels like when you were young, you weren't allowed to do it, or you weren't able to do it for some reason. Okay, maybe the parents wouldn't let you. Maybe there was some other reason why you couldn't do it back then, and you've kind of carried that with you, and you want to do it now, and you're getting that opportunity. Now this is the physical form that this impulse, this drive, this desire is going to take. Okay, whether it's a job, gym membership, sport, some activities, whatever it is. I feel like now you have that opportunity, and you're going to be doing it. You're starting it. And I think this is going to kind of open up a lot of emotions for you, to be honest with you. Down here we've got this water, the Nine of Cups. I think that this is going to really make you feel some type of way, and it seems kind of silly, right? That just now you get to pursue this interest of yours, and it brings about all these emotions. Because I think these emotions, have been kind of kept underneath the surface for a while, right? And I think it's really bringing back the kind of memories and the energies from from childhood, from this experience of like not being able to do this when you were younger. Okay. And I don't know if it was just a timing thing, or if it was because of the overprotective parents, or there was some, maybe there was some kind of, not an injury, but maybe like a health situation. I'm kind of getting this idea that there was like, there was some kind of major event in your childhood that kind of pushed your needs or your interests kind of to the back burner. And I'm getting that from some of these cards on the path of the Serpent here. And I kind of feel like there's a G name involved somewhere. Some kind of a G person. Maybe it's a family member that had an illness or something, that I'm thinking something that maybe has to do with the nervous system or the brain or something like that. I don't know. Hopefully it wasn't anything serious like that, but I'm kind of getting that feeling. Something with the G person, maybe involving them, and so your interest kind of had to be postponed. You know what I mean? Like right during this time where you were going to begin these activities, or where you started showing interest, this other kind of serious thing happened or developed, and the attention had to go there so that, you weren't able to pursue the interest that you were kind of, that you were demonstrating, So I feel like there's a lot of emotion tied here too. That's the main idea that I'm trying to get across, is that it's a very sensitive subject. But I think that you're feeling like you're not feeling sad about it now. I think now you're feeling like a wealth of happiness. It's almost like you just feel like finally this emotional energy is being released, and it almost like kind of brings you to a tear, The Nine of Cups. This is a satisfaction now on the physical, mental, and emotional level. So it's like a spiritual experience for you. It's finally like that release of energy. That release of the emotional component of this, that I feel like has been kind of contained and, maybe suppressed a little bit since back in the day, childhood or whatever, And now you're finally able to process these feelings because of this kind of physical activity. Now it's unleashing all of these emotions. It's finally releasing all of this energy, right? And in the immediate future, we see this, to me, could be either a water sign person, or this could be like a maternal figure. Okay? And it could be this G name person that we see, we'll get to on the path of the Serpent. It could be now a communication with the person, maybe with the maternal figure, maybe the mom, or the maternal influence that you had as a child. Okay? Whoever that may be. Could be that they have that G name and they had some sort of a health situation when you were younger. And I think now that you're having this kind of catharsis, really, and this processing of this energy with this fire and this water, it's really churning things up for you, right? And it seems rather silly, right? You start this activity and suddenly now you're feeling some type of way. And it's maybe a little bit overwhelming. But it's fire and water. When it comes together, it's going to make some steam, But that's good. You're burning up all this kind of pent-up emotional energy from the past, processing it. And I think that it's going to lead to some sort of resolution with this maternal figure. It may be a water sign, maybe not. But I think it's like the maternal influence that you had when you were younger. I think you're going to be coming to some sort of conclusion or resolution with them, either with direct communication or with just in your own kind of active imagination, kind of coming to terms with them, reconciling with them. If they're still here, maybe you'll reach out. If they're no longer with us, then it's something with the active imagination component, right? But I feel like you're going to be processing your feelings, and you're going to have to deal with your relationship with this maternal influence, whoever the mom, aunt, if it was you know, if maybe your dad had to take on the maternal role as well. It's, you know, whatever the case is. There's all sorts of variables. So I don't want to pigeonhole it. Whoever the maternal influence was when you were younger, I think you're going to have to come to terms with them and kind of reconcile your relationship with that person in some way, because of all these feelings that now are coming up. Because of, if you look at the path of the dove here, we have a lot of fire, and it with this water kind of also in, right? Water and fire, what do we see above it? This air, right? It's creating this steam, right? And this is the Prince of Swords. This is pure air, air on air. It's that, you know, it's the steam that is made from the fire and the water here. So this is really your need now to process this stuff kind of mentally, intellectually. You know, reach out to people, have the conversations that maybe you haven't had in however many years, you know. Reach out and reconcile with the people involved, or not, or talk to somebody else to process it. Just do the active imagination and process it. But this is about kind of the mental aspect of what's gonna be produced by the combination of these energies, the fire and the water. There's going to be a need now for some sort of mental processing going on, okay? And that's, I think, a very important thing, because this energy is going to create the steam. We keep the steam in our head, too much pressure is going to build up. There needs to be a release valve somewhere to prevent this kind of overpressurization. And that's through talking with somebody, processing, doing the meditation, the active imagination, or just reaching out to, you know, counselors or loved ones or friends or your significant other, your partner, whatever the case may be. But that steam needs to be released somewhere, okay? And I think you're the type of person that generally does value the close friendships and close relationships that you have, okay? I don't think you have a ton of close relationships, but the people you have in your life, I think, are very close. You keep them very close, and you nurture the relationship there. So this card is really about utilizing those connections that you already have, right? Relying on your loved ones to, just as someone to listen to you as you kind of vent, right? That's why they call it venting. And I think that's an important component this week. I think that's going to be very, very important when these energies come together. Okay. Let's look now at the path of the serpent, because we have all major arcana here. So I think this is a really significant kind of moment in your life. This is going to be like, I'm almost expecting a tower card, maybe in that mystery card. This feels like it's a breakthrough. This feels like this is going to unleash so much energy in you, spiritual energy, potential energy now, just coming out. And your general energy on the path of the serpent is this universe or world card. And this is telling me that you've felt kind of stuck for a while. You've felt kind of locked up, kind of contained, kind of like stalled even. Like, not that you've been directionless or you've just been kind of wandering around life. I mean, it's not the Fool card. But I think that you've felt almost a little frozen, almost a little kind of unsure where to go, or almost with this, I'm getting a feeling like you didn't really care where you went, where you ended up, or what was going on. You just had a little bit of this kind of coldness about you, okay? And I think it's a coldness that Pisces is pretty prone to. We have the Totwa card for Pisces here. This is just pure, this is mutable water, right? This is just water that is just all down in its waterness, you know? And I think that it's a tendency to be a little bit just kind of pessimistic maybe. Not cynical really, but just a little melancholy. A little maybe nonchalant. A little disinterested in things, right? It's almost like for a while now you felt like you're just kind of waiting something out. Does that make sense? That there's really not anything for you to do, nowhere for you to go, nothing really going on. You're just waiting for something. You're just waiting. So I really don't know what is getting you going in this current week with this energy, but I think it's through this some kind of spiritual work that you're doing. Because again, I think you really do know yourself. You're aware of who you are, what you like, what you want, what you don't want. But at the same time, you're just kind of feeling like you're waiting for something. And I think what we're waiting for is this fire and water to finally come together to create this kind of chemical reaction and get things going, you know. And it just happens to be through your fulfillment of these, you know, what I'm calling the childhood drives for this kind of, you know, activity. Now, I'm not saying that you never got to play basketball as a kid. So now that you're playing basketball, you're going to have this wonderful breakthrough in your life. Maybe it's that simple. Maybe. I hope so. That sounds great. I love basketball. But I just mean through the expression of these drives that were suppressed as a child. Okay? Could be manifesting as basketball, yeah. But it's that kind of vigorous physical activity that's going to get that water flowing again. Right? So take it how it resonates, okay? The details that I'm providing may not match exactly your situation, and that's why I ask you to connect with the images and with the energies of each card. Apply them to your own life and go beyond the details that I'm providing, okay? But I feel like you have been kind of waiting for something to happen. You've been waiting for something. I don't know. Maybe this next card will give us a clue, because this is the card that I was kind of thinking was like that maternal influence that you had as a child, you know. Whoever kind of had the mom role when you were a kid. I think they had that G name, and I think there was something going on with them health-wise. I don't know if it was like a physical illness or if it was something deeper, maybe a mental illness, but something that changed their behavior, changed their personality, let's say, okay? So, you know, mental illness, physical illness, to me, it's all like a spectrum of our being, okay? So I think it's kind of all included. But whatever it was, it changed their personality, or it changed the way they behaved, the way they presented themselves, changed their mood. Maybe they were subject suddenly to like really intense highs and elation and then really intense lows, right? Something really caused a change in this person. And I think that affected you deeply when you were a child, okay? I think a lot of that is going to be resolved, or you're going to at least reach a breakthrough milestone kind of thing pretty soon here, okay? But I see a G in their name. Maybe grandma, I don't know. It's just, it could be an initial, or it could be part of their first name or something. Okay. But I think this is the whoever had the mom role. And then with this mom role too, with this Queen of Cups here, it's almost like, you know, the veil in front of their face there. It's almost just like you kind of, there came a point where you didn't really know them anymore. You know, like their personality changed, and then there was like this veil now, and it's just not, you don't really, they're not the same person. You can't really see who they are anymore, you know. There was some kind of a change. Maybe it was sort of gradual, but I feel like it was pretty quick, you know, pretty distinct kind of, wow, suddenly they're different and you don't really know them anymore. And I imagine that can be quite scary when you're a kid, you know. It could honestly be something like alcoholism or drug addiction that can cause that kind of a situation with a parental figure, okay? But let's move on from that. I think take it how it resonates, and I'm not going to stay on that subject too long, okay? Because what I see next is the Wheel of Fortune. This is kind of like, you're feeling like things are starting to change now, like something's going on, life's kind of turning around, something's happening here. And that's a little nerve-wracking. That's a little frightening, to be honest with you. This card is in the position of your fears, worries, and concerns. So if you've been kind of floating around in this card for a while, like waiting for whatever, Now things are starting to change, and it's kind of unexpected. It's almost like you were just going to keep waiting. You weren't really expecting anything, you know. But now things are changing, and I think you're seeing a lot of opportunities in your life now. Maybe you're starting to wake up to this idea like, damn, I can do more things. There's more that I want to accomplish. There's so much. It's almost like you feel this kind of water and fire coming together, making this steam, and that steam is like driving this engine now of opportunity, of aspiration, of now there's just suddenly so many things you want to do that you almost feel like rushed now to kind of get all of these things done in your life, you know. So I feel like it's really good fortune. This is the Jupiter energy. It's expansive, it's generous, it's nurturing, and it's, you know, it's strict. It's like a father figure, right? The Jupiter energy. It's kind of strict, but it is very providing, very generous. Right? Wants you to grow, wants you to expand, wants you to experience as much as you can, you know? And I think this is kind of, you're kind of gaining some confidence with this card. And I feel like this is kind of the opportunity. It's almost like you've got to jump on this wheel to move into this next phase of your life, you know, to really get things going. So all of this energy, it's not just going to happen to you. This is some major arcana on the path of the serpent. Nothing over here. This path of the dove, this is all kind of you dealing with yourself, your past, your energies. Path of the serpent now, this is what Spirit is providing for you. This is what the universe is offering you, and you've got to take advantage. Okay? And jumping on that wheel, moving into the next phase of your life, the next kind of cycle for you, is going to involve this moon card. I think two things. We can look at this card a couple of ways. One is that you're in this kind of nighttime darkness period now. This is the kind of a little bit frozen. It's a little bit dark, not a lot of activity. You're kind of floating, you're waiting, right? It's kind of a lot of what we're experiencing here with the world or universe card. And this is now allowing this sun to rise, okay? This sun that's right here. And this is like a transformative. We have that beetle there, that scarab. That's transformation. That's like a rebirth kind of thing. That's getting on this wheel and moving into this next phase, allowing this transformation to take place, allowing this sun to rise, and this kind of nighttime landscape is going to be illumined. It's going to change. It's going to be different. It's going to be bright and warm, a lot of activity. Okay. And this is also that the sun is kind of rising now. Your life is changing. Things are happening, and that's the kind of scary thing. You're moving into this unknown land, too. Right? So this is the other way of looking at it. You're moving into kind of like unknown territory. And that can be a little frightening. But I think the further this sun rises, the more light and warmth and illumination there will be, and it'll seem less and less frightening as you go forward. You know. So right now it seems like on the other side of the horizon, it's unknown land, man. It's, you know, could be scary over there. And it is. But the closer you get, things start to brighten up and you can see more clearly, and you can, you know, you can adjust slowly as you move into that. It's not like the sun just rises like a light switch, you know, it's a gradual dawn. So that's kind of the other way of looking at that, you know. And this, again, this is the energy that the universe is kind of providing for you to take advantage of, you know, to really, really turn things around. We're going to look at this mystery card now before we get too long in the tooth here. I don't really want to speculate on what this is. I said maybe it would be that tower, the tower energy. But this could really be all sorts of things, you know. Let's find out what this is. And this is the adjustment or justice card. Okay, this is really kind of like, this is in some ways correcting the balance from childhood, right? And this is kind of making up for missed opportunity, making up for lost time. This is correcting whatever this emotional whatever this situation was that we're talking about in childhood, it's like setting things right again, reconciling everything, balancing out the ledger, you know. And I think that's kind of through this, the reconciling with this mom figure, either literally or just through the act of imagination, through your own kind of mental activity and processing and you know, reconciling that relationship. I think you're kind of like, you're evening out the kind of karmic balance, right? You're setting things kind of even and level again. Okay, and I think that's an important aspect here that we didn't touch on too much. You know, I think if the balances are tipped too far one way, you've got to do the work to even things out again. Forgiveness, just processing, coming to terms with it, allowing yourself that expression with this Prince of Swords, allowing yourself to kind of vent that steam that's being created. And this is really that the restoration of that balance. Okay. And I think that's important because I think the scales have been kind of weighed down too heavily in one direction for you. And so now it's kind of time to get things going again. And this is also kind of fueled by that air energy, right? So we can look at it kind of like the steam that's being created is what's moving the scales, right? It's just kind of like pistons up and down, moving the scales. And pretty soon that could be going so fast that it's just a nice smooth hum, right? The purr of the engine. So I think it's a lot of this, the air energy, the steam that's being created, that's going to move the balances, adjust the scales, and you'll start to see now how this future is going to unfold before you. And through the choices that you make, you're going to understand the consequences of the choices that you make. Because again, with the path of the serpent, this is all stuff that's being provided for you, opportunity that's here, energies that are coming in for you. But you still have to make the choices, you know? It's still completely up to you. Anyway, Pisces, we're going to do an extended reading. If you want to stick around, please click on the link that is right up here and you can become a member to the channel. You'll have access to all of the weekly and monthly extended readings for all signs. Okay. This was your weekly tarot reading for February 12 through 18 on Dove and Serpent Tarot.